You have clients calling you at 10:30, and if you don't pick up, they'll just continue to spam you over and over again.
And litigators, we're really not bothered about our health. Most of us don't eat breakfast because we either don't have time because we're looking at our file, or we're too nervous, or adrenaline pumping.
This person was there, he witnessed this crime, and you prepared, of course, but you just missed out on this witness.
You've been asked by your client to insert a particular clause and he is totally adamant that it should not go in. What would you do in that situation?
Welcome to Lawyers Unplugged, the podcast series organised by the Penang Bar's Committee Young Lawyers and Pupils Subcommittee in collaboration with the CPD Committee of Penang Bar. I'm your host Audrey Wee, and I'm thrilled to invite you on a thought-provoking journey through the diverse aspect of the legal profession in Malaysia. In each episode, we delve into the captivating discussion that shed light on the intricacies of the legal landscape. From exploring the challenges faced by young lawyers to examining the evolving trends in the legal industry, Lawyers Unplugged aim to provide a platform for meaningful conversation that resonate with the legal practitioners. Through engaging interviews with esteemed guests, we will delve into their experiences, insights, and perspective, offering valuable knowledge and inspiration to aspiring lawyers and pupils. Whether you are a legal professional seeking to stay abreast of the latest development, a pupil eager to gain insight from seasoned practitioners, or simply a curious mind fascinated by the intricacies of the legal world, Lawyers Unplugged is the podcast series for you. So join us as we embark on this exciting journey, exploring the multifaceted dimensions of the legal profession in Malaysia. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and engaged as we navigate Lawyers Unplugged together. Today, we have a very special episode that addresses a topic that is of importance to young lawyers in Malaysia. As aspiring legal professionals, we understand the unique challenges that arise when dealing with complex situations and demanding clients. That's why we have brought together a panel of experienced lawyers who have successfully navigated through such circumstances and are here to share their valuable insights and tips. Joining us today are 4 exceptional lawyers, each representing a different stage in their legal career. First, we have Ms. Vijayalakshumi Navaratnam, a senior lawyer from Messrs Mureli Navaratnam, with a wealth of experience accumulated over 24 years of practice in civil litigation. Ms. Vijay has encountered a myriad of challenging cases and has constantly demonstrated her ability to effectively handle difficult clients and providing astute guidance and strategic solutions. Next, we have Mr. Kenzali Goit, a lawyer who is in charge of Messrs Sariman and Goit and has successfully tackled numerous difficult clients and situations and cases, developing strategies to ensure favorable outcomes while maintaining professionalism in the industry. Kenzali mainly is in the field of criminal practice.
Yes.
But he also delves into other areas of practice. Following, we have Ms. Vernice Ong, a legal practitioner from Messrs Ng and Anwar. She has established herself as a trusted legal professional in the conveyancing and corporate industry. She's here also to share her experience and her expertise. Lastly, we have Mr. Gnasegaran from Messrs E, Gnasegaran Co, a young lawyer who has recently embarked on his legal journey. Our guests will share their personal experience, practical tips, and strategies dealing with difficult clients and cases. We will explore effective communication techniques, the importance of building strong client relationships, and the role of empathy and emotional intelligence, and the significance of continuous learning and growth in the legal profession. Without further ado, let's delve into this enlightening conversation with our guests tonight.
Thank you, Audrey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you for having
No
us.
problem.
Thank you, Audrey. I'm excited for this discussion.
I'm excited too.
Thank you, Audrey, for having me on the show.
No problem. Ms. Vijay, as a lawyer in the Malaysian legal industry, I'm certain we have all encountered our fair share of challenging clients. My first question focuses on managing difficult clients with upholding professionalism. Ms. Vijay, could you share some insights into the strategies you adopt when dealing with challenging clients, and also maybe shed some light with us on the type of difficult clients that you have met throughout your practice?
Of course. Well, dealing with challenging clients is part and parcel of practice, be it litigation or conveyancing. And it requires a balance of professionalism and also how you bring in your ethics and your principles as a lawyer. Let me just share, there are two types of clients when you say difficult clients. One is those who have demands with regards to time, your time, and the other one who has constant demand with regards to your knowledge and your skill. Okay, so the first one with regards to time is they think that you're not only a lawyer, but they're 24-hour counselor. So the mistake we all make with technology is giving them our handphone numbers. So we have clients calling you at 12 o'clock or messaging you at 1 o'clock in the morning. How I dealt with it was very simple. Initially don't give them your handphone number. If you had to, you have to tell them that, block them out and say that this is not how I conduct my practice. Because there's going to come a time when we cannot depend on this communication to prove something for the protection of both parties. And as far as your knowledge is concerned, what I mean when I say that is they want to be updated, that is their right. But to be in the insight of every single aspect is not going to be practical. Because sometimes you want to gather a lot of information and then to keep them in the know. Yes. So for this, I think best to let them know from the onset how you are going to be dealing as far as communication of, well, for litigation cases, the next dates or the steps to be taken, and for conveyancing, I don't know. I've only done litigation. So here you go.
Thank you, Ms. Vijay. So what you're trying to say is like you explain the legal process to the client and the potential outcome, honestly and frankly, to them.
Yes, of course. Yes. Because you have to let your clients know that no case is 100%. Because even if it is a 100% case, there's always a judge out there who you don't know how he's going to decide.
Yes, yes. How about, can I have Ms. Bernice to like shed some light in conveyancing practice and like the type of clients where you meet in like conveyancing practice, and how do you deal with them?
Yeah, sure. Because firstly, I agree with Ms. Vijay. Like you do have clients calling you at 10:30, and if you don't pick up, they'll just continue to spam you over and over again. Why are you not answering my call, everything? So I do agree, first set up your boundaries. It's like I always tell my clients, oh, if I don't answer after 5, I'll answer you the second day. Don't keep texting me. Like you need to make sure for conveyancing, all the clients want to know is, when am I getting my keys? What's the status? When my loan is going to release? Because we are usually they're dealing with money, their interest, everything. So they just want to make sure that, oh, we can keep track of everything. So keeping your client posted is that, oh, so sometimes I'll just give them like an estimation. Oh, so this whole thing will take 3 months. At first, we're going to do this. After this, how long? Until we move on to the next step.
How about in criminal practice, Kenzali? Can you share with us a bit of how do you manage difficult clients, and also, especially in criminal practice, I was made to understand that you shouldn't overpromise your client.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Over-promising is one aspect, because sometimes you face with a client that expects you to be a magician. So obviously you set the boundary clear, you get a brief of the criminal file. Yes, you look through it, you do your research obviously, and then you set a meeting with the client. Always set a meeting with the client according to your time, according to your convenience, not to them. I think that is very important, so that they, like what Ms. Vijay has said, and agree with Ms. Bernice as well, is that you need to know your time and your boundary, and they have to respect that. I'll share one contested family matter. I think that's where emotion gets into play.
Yeah.
Clients get overwhelmed. That's when you really need to listen to what they want. But realistically speaking, what is the law? So you need to guide them, of course, on that part. In a way, you provide reassurance and support, listening to their grievances, empathize with them, but be careful not to go beyond and be a counselor. That's a very thin dividing line.
Yes.
I would say that. But this is a situation when it involves young children.
Yeah.
Yes, additionally, I'll make sure to maintain a calm and composed demeanor. If you have to face a client that's coming to you with really high emotion, that's when you have to tell the client, look, calm down, we are here to manage the files, compose her or him, and stabilize the situation.
Thank you, Kenzali. Ms. VG, can you shed some light on, do you think active listening and empathy plays a crucial role in dealing with our clients, difficult clients?
Yes, but listening, when it comes to difficult clients, is not about how much we listen, it's how much they should listen, right? While we have to sympathize and, empathize with them, we always have to remember who we are. We are the professional in the situation, so we have to have control of the entire situation, right? So in that case, when it comes to difficult clients, always employ that what you have learned or what you see other lawyers, how they deal with their clients. Having said that in mind, difficult clients, difficult cases, we always must remember that however demanding or however the situation needs for us to act according to what the client wants, but we must always remember of our principles and our ethical bounds, not only to our fellow members, but also to the courts. And even in conveyancing or corporate practice, we also owe an ethical duty to the institutions.
Yeah, the stakeholders.
Yes, the stakeholders, the relevant authorities who rely on our professionalism, in ensuring that everything comes out legally correct. Okay?
And Vignesh, as a young lawyer, can you share with us how do you deal with clients and being new in this legal industry? Do you face any challenges?
Okay, first of all, how Ms. Vijaya or Ms. Bernice or even Mr. Kenzali have already said to us, to the floor, that how do we comprehend difficult clients? I think they've already addressed, but
yes.
One of the examples apart from this would be like in a matrimonial dispute, where clients tend to get very emotional, especially outside. It can be either outside court or it can be inside the courtroom. So I believe that we have to be very firm with our clients at one point, whether we want or we don't want. We gotta be firm with them, and we gotta know what we are talking to them, what we are advising them. At times it is overwhelming for them.
Yes, yes.
They get too emotional.
Yes.
But like what Ms. Vijaya has already told, we need to know what we are talking, and we gotta not go beyond what we are out to do.
Yes.
And and I do solely believe that it does not only apply to criminal practice but also to civil matters as well, that we shouldn't be over promising our clients.
I think it's across the board
in
all cases, right?
Yeah, for all matters, that we shouldn't be over promising and telling that we can get this done.
Yes, yes.
Legal industry is very competitive. Some people tend to over promise their clients. So I do believe that we gotta be within the ethical guidelines as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Agreed.
Moving on to our second question, we explore how young lawyers can navigate difficult cases and handle high-pressure situations. Ms. VG, in your experience, what advice would you give to young lawyers in this regard?
Okay, well, navigating through cases, it can be very tense and also daunting if you do not prepare. And that goes for every lawyer. You can be one day in practice, or you can be 60 years in practice. But if you do not prepare, that case becomes that much more difficult, that much more complex, and that much more unsolvable. So the key to handling cases, I wouldn't start with difficult case, is preparation, preparation, preparation. Every case is a difficult case because you got to put yourself out there to protect your client's interests and at the same time preserve justice. So every case is difficult. It's how you handle it, and that's, for me, the only way is to know every single letter in the documents, and maybe for you exhibits, evidence, inside out. In that way, nothing is difficult. Okay?
So as Ms. VG say, preparation is key. Do you have anything to add, Ms. Kenzali?
I think
in criminal practice?
Yes, I think there's just one word, that victory loves preparation. This
Loves
one
preparation.
maxim to it. Victory loves
Yeah, I
preparation.
agree. And also nowadays we have like CLJ online. It's very easy for us to like actually.
It's free.
It's free. It's free. Yes, yes. Okay. Anything for you to share, Vernice, on conveyancing practice and difficult cases? I understand that maybe in conveyancing practice there might not be so much of contested
Yeah,
issues.
because for conveyancing, usually it's not about how difficult the case is, it's the volume. So maybe you can handle like projects from direct developers, sub-sale cases, everything. So sometimes you might overlook. Like you need to remember all like the deadlines, all this, like when to do what. You cannot just be relying on your clerks, especially for conveyancing. So you need to make sure you know all your files, like what Ms. Vijay says. It's not about, for us, it's not about the exhibits, but it's more like you need to know what's the status of all your cases.
Okay. How about Vignesh?
Okay, as for handling difficult cases, I
Cases.
think that Flaw has already answered. As do your research properly, know your laws, and keep up to date with the current laws and case laws as well. As for handling high pressure situation, I do believe that we gotta be prepared for both good and bad outcomes when we are going to court. You know,
The
we can't-
mindset.
Yes. You know, we can't be like, okay, today we are attending this court, this particular case, and you know, it will go well. You can't assume, you know.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for both good and bad situation, and in an event that if things goes down south, we will be able to, you know, smooth. We won't lose,
Yes.
you know. We won't lose.
You have the backup.
Exactly.
Yes.
We won't like.
I
we
believe-
won't get panic,
yeah.
and you know.
I believe in criminal practice, that's what we always do, right? At the sentencing date, you know, when they are giving out the sentence, we will always prepare like a stay application and everything, and like a notice, right? Notice of appeal.
Right, to answer this, I think it's my opinion that criminal litigation contains much more of element surprises, because only on that day you would then be having
Serve.
some prosecution would then serve you a gift. Then you wouldn't know what gift is that until you open up. Oh, today is something else. It could be an impeachment proceedings. It could be a public witness that you have never thought of. Oh, this person was there. He witnessed this crime, and you prepared, of course, but you just missed out on this witness, and then it requires an impromptu preparation. But it comes with experience. This is somewhat like, to me, is a high pressure state. How then do you manage if you were given an unknown gift on that day? Would you go ahead? Would you take like 5 minutes, compose yourself? Maybe in my view, I would bring up certain mentors,
Yes.
more experienced senior lawyers,
Yes.
or someone that's perhaps in the court on that day. I will just have a brief discussion with them and find out what's your advice to do this. That's how I will handle myself in this.
Yeah, it's very important to know that in the legal industry,
Yes.
seeking help is not a sign of weakness. We can share our experiences
Agreed,
together,
agreed.
right? Yes. Ms. VG, in your experience, other than preparation and everything, and especially when lawyers are handling high pressure cases and everything,
So what I think, I will start off with what you just said, you know, seeking advice is not something that you have to be shy about. That is the concept of what is happening now. But when I started practice, it was in abundance. You could just go to a senior lawyer or even your contemporaries and your peers and ask them for samples. Hey, you have done this, you know. We also had the benefit of being able to hang around the courts and watch proceedings. So you learn a lot from there.
There was still a bar room back then.
Yes, there was a bar room. So there was a lot of interaction, a lot of learning in that sense. You didn't just have a cup of coffee for like 3 hours, which most litigation lawyers did. But in that 3 hours, there's a lot of insights that you got into. You'd hear about this, you know, very interesting objection that has come out and how it was settled. But taking on from Vernice, when you said about having a lot of files, I think time management is so important. And what I usually do is I actually divide them into, it's called the Jabil Square. Ravi Chandran actually introduced me. So it's important, not so important, and urgent and not so urgent. And then you have got your, you know, you've got areas where they interlap.
Gray
So
areas.
you choose which one is the most important and the most urgent, but most people would choose the least important and the least urgent because it doesn't require much stress. And from what Ken said is that as litigators, you know, we are really not bothered about our health. Most of us don't eat breakfast because we either don't have time because we're looking at our file, or we're too nervous, or adrenaline pumping.
Yes.
And we don't have time because you're reading, you're preparing. But, and I've done that, but I think exercise helps. You know, exercise helps, or whatever that interests you and takes you away from it, like even playing a game on your handphone for that moment, you know, that should help elevate stress, and then you can go back to it with a clearer mind.
Take yourself away from the situation temporarily and get back to it with a fresh mind. Lastly, our third question explores how young lawyers can effectively handle conflicts within the legal professions. Conflicts within the legal profession can arise from various sources, such as disagreement with colleagues or ethical dilemmas. Vignesh, as a young lawyer, can you share with us what are your thoughts on this topic?
Okay, for me, it's very important to approach any sorts of conflicts with an open mind and willingness to both listen as well as to solve any conflicts. We got to be on parallel, and we can't be thinking of ourselves that, hey, I'm a lawyer too, why am I wrong? You know, we got to be adapt
with an open heart.
Yeah, with an open heart. And if we don't know something, it's always good to learn. It can be anyone. It can be from your opposing counsel, it can be a colleague, it can be a boss, it can be anyone.
Yeah, maybe a senior clerk in your firm too.
Yes.
Right?
We will never know who might help us in the long run. And also, I do believe that we got to come out with a common ground to settle any matters. It can be any matters. As long as we can find a common ground, then it is easier rather than telling that, hey, I'm right and you are wrong, and you know, we just go on and on and on about it.
So in a highly competitive industry like law, conflicts can sometimes arise due to differing opinions and approaches. Kenzali, can you share with us how can young lawyers navigate such conflicts while maintaining professionalism and respect?
Absolutely, Audrey. I think first and foremost, ethics come into play. Second of all, I would say that knowing your opponent and knowing the quorum. And thirdly, of course, preparation. When it comes to differing opinions and approaches, I would have the view that sometimes, due to constraint of resources, time, we may not be that, I would say, stay abreast of the development of the law. There might just be one case law that just popped up yesterday. You may have overlooked it, your opponent brought it up to your attention. And to me, it's not a weakness to admit that, oh, this is now the current law that is in favor of opponent. If you acknowledge that it is what it is, why not then use this opportunity, approach your opponent with an open mind, and perhaps ask him for advice. Look, how do we, like what Mr. Vignesh says, come to a common ground? How do we resolve this dispute? Because at the end of the day, I would say, do not take what our clients' conflict and make it into our own conflicts with our opponent. Because that standard of professionalism, we must maintain that amongst us.
Because after the case, we are still
friends. I mean, obviously, we don't want to take to the extent that after the case, we don't say goodbye to each other, we don't even greet each other. That, to me, that's the worst thing that can happen to us.
Never take things personally.
Yes.
Ms. Vijay, in your experience, have you encountered any specific strategies or techniques that have proven to be effective in resolving conflicts within the legal profession?
Yes, of course. It's there all the time, you know? And how hostile a situation or a conflict it is, or how solvable, or how you can go about it in an easier way. It all depends, most importantly, on knowing your fellow members. I think it's easier to resolve a conflict situation with someone that you know. It doesn't have to be a friend. But in Penang Bar, how we're really lucky is everyone's very close-knit. So it's very easy to just pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, I overlooked it, or be honest. I knew it was you, so I'm going to take liberties. I'm so sorry. But can you please, yeah. So can you please give me that extra week or the extra month, you know? And the person who you're like that with knows that if he or she gives you that, is going to give you that indulgence, he or she is going to get it back. So it's knowing your fellow members. All right? And secondly, there are situations, of course, where you find not everyone anywhere is going to be that approachable and that amenable. You know, there are some fellow members of the bar, my brothers and sisters would say, oh, my client may not allow it. Well, you know, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They may have very difficult clients. In that situation, you have to remain as professional as possible and make sure that you keep to your ethics. No matter how much you want to, oh, is that what you're going to do to me? I am going to, oh, I know this. I'm going to throw this spanner at you and you know, you're going to be shivering. Don't. You know, keep to your professionalism, be ethical at all times. It'll help you no matter what. I've always been curious, right? Venice, like, you know, litigation, like what I've said, you call your opponent and that's it. But let's say in a conveyancing scenario where you are for the purchaser, let's say Ken,
Yes.
for the vendor, and you have been asked to insert a particular clause, not under the Housing Developers Act, let's say it's a subsale, you've been asked by your client to insert a particular clause and he is totally adamant that it should not go in. What would you do in that situation?
Usually I'll give him a call first, then
Yes.
to understand, oh, why are you opposing this? Give me your reasons. Then after that, I'll just call my client and say, hey, this is what the other side has come back. Why don't you just take a step back? We find somewhere to meet in the middle.
Okay, so in conveyancing, from what I understand, it's not only your engagement with the solicitor on the other side, but it's also coming to terms with yourself, really, right?
Yes.
And saying that, hey, he makes more sense than me, and then putting it to your client. Isn't that right? I think that should also be practiced in litigation.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
You know?
Definitely.
I think
Definitely.
because you always need to tell your client, you're not always right, but we just say it in a nicer way.
Yes, of course. Conveyancers are always nicer than litigators.
All in all, I think young lawyers should familiarize themselves with the ethical guidelines and the regulations set by the professional bodies, such as the Malaysian Bar Council, right?
Agree.
Adhering to the standards can help prevent conflicts and also maintain professional conducts within the legal professions. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, well, I can go on forever, but right. Just like, you know, the topic where we discussed that know your opponent, knowing lawyers generally, you know. One way of doing it is to attend as many talks or seminars, not only within Penang, but try to go for the ones that are organized nationally, right, on a national level, and also all the events like sports, other activities.
The interstate bar
Yes,
game.
interstate. So that will make you not only know other lawyers, it will also make you someone who practices better. And I think as young lawyers, whether it's litigators or conveyancers, we need to know, like I said, we are professionals. So we must adhere to certain or practice decorum, especially when it comes to the courts, because that's what I know about. Yes.
How about you, Bernice? Anything to add on to before?
I also think it's very important to get to know your fellow lawyers, because from what I know, a lot of conveyancing practitioners, like we speak on the phone all the time, but if let's say I met you in person, I don't know it's you.
Yes. That's why I come for talks.
Yes, come for talks. If you don't want to come for talks, come from all the dinners,
Yes.
the sports events, everything.
Join the subcom.
Yes, welcome to the subcom.
One thing that I still do today is I'll sit in. If I'm in court on that day, I finish my case, but I'll sit in, I'll hang back and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And doing that, I would approach whoever counsels on that day. If it's a trial files, I would ask him, if you mind, can I just assist you? I'll sit beside and just observe what's going on. And that somehow really gets you closer to someone, your opponent, that you are not familiar with. That opens up the conversation. Really.
Ms. Vijay, do you need free help sometimes?
No, I'll charge him for it because he's learning from me.
Oh, Vignesh, as a young lawyer, do you have anything to add up to handling difficult clients and cases?
I think we've already spoken enough about it.
Yes.
It's just for young lawyers and also for my fellow peers, it's just never be scared of approaching senior lawyers or even in fact like fellow peers. Regardless wherever it is, it can be in the courtroom, it can be outside of the court, anywhere.
Say hi.
Yeah. Okay.
Say hi.
Say hi or whatever. Because one thing I do realize is fellow peers of mine, as far as what I've observed, is they do not communicate with each other once they step outside of the courtroom. You know, it's everything is confined to that one particular place.
That 4 walls.
Yeah.
The court.
Yeah.
No, we are all members of this beautiful club.
Yeah.
You know, we call each other brothers and sisters. So
Yes.
let's just play the part, you know, get
Exactly.
together.
That's the part where, you know, always be courteous with each other. If you got to litigate it through, be fair and square. You know, stay within your ethical guidelines. And that's the thing. We got a network as much as we can. Penang is not as big as other states, so it is not impossible to communicate towards each other. Yeah. That's it.
Maintain your demeanor and decorum in court. It's
Yes.
also very important, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us today on the insightful discussion about navigating difficult clients and cases as young lawyers in Malaysia. We've had the privilege of hearing from Ms. Vijay, Ms. Vernice, Mr. Kenzali and Mr. Vignesh, who have shared their invaluable experience and tips. We are immensely grateful for your time and also your willingness to share to our audience. To our listener, we hope that this episode has provided you with valuable tips and guidance on navigating difficult clients and cases. Remember, as lawyers, you have the power to face challenges head-on and grow both personally and professionally. We see you in the next episode of Lawyers Unplugged.